commercial banks, and next is cooperative banks. Commercial banks and cooperative banks. Commercial bank and cooperative bank. Clear? Now, what is a commercial bank? What is a commercial bank? A bank which is established under Companies Act of 1956. Commercial banks are those banks established under Companies Act of 1956, amended in 2013. So if it is said that they are established under Companies Act of 2013, it is correct. It is correct. Clear? Now, here cooperative banks are established under Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative Societies Act of respective states. Cooperative Societies Act of respective states. They are established under Cooperative Societies Act of respective states. Cooperative Societies Act of respective states. Okay? Respective state. Okay? Now, mostly these will have a uniform composition. At the apex, there will be a director or board of directors, then employees, like that. Here, composition will be uniform or non-uniform? Non-uniform, because every state may have a different Cooperative Societies Act. Okay, so their composition vary from state to state. Their composition vary from state to state. Vary from state to state. Okay, font zyada chota. Is it a small one for all people at the back? Do I need to enlarge the font? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Now we will see objectives. Objectives of the commercial bank first. Okay, objective of commercial bank first. Okay, commercial bank has the main objective is profit motive. Profit motive. Clear? Now here also there is one thing you have to understand. If it is in private sector, then profit is the main motive. If it is in private sector, profit is the main motive. Private sector bank has profit as the main motive. Okay, but if it is in government sector, if it is in government / public sector, then profit is one of the motives. Means one of the motives it is, but it is not the main motive. Main motive is financial inclusion for government banks, government owned banks. Okay. Now, what is the motive of cooperative banks? Motive of cooperative banks. Is it financial inclusion? No. What is it then? The motive of cooperative banks is serving the unbanked, rural and poor people, which means one word, financial inclusion. Which means financial inclusion. The motive of cooperative banks is financial inclusion. Financial inclusion. In bracket you may write particularly of the rural and poor people. Financial inclusion of rural and poor people. Financial inclusion of rural and poor people. Clear? Okay. Now, After seeing the motive or objectives, we will see what are their additional benefits. So do they provide value added services? Value added services means apart from normal banking services, do they provide you with debit card, credit card, check books, application, online based services? Yes or no? Yes. Do these provide value added services? No. No value added service in cooperative banks. You cannot write no abruptly because some of the value added services are available. So you may write limited value added services. Limited value added services. Limited value added services. Clear? Okay. Now see, this commercial bank may be established by, let us say, 5 people. Let us say how many people? 5 people. 5 people together pooled their funds and they established a commercial bank. Okay. Let us say out of these 5, someone is holding 30% share, 20% share, 10% share, 22% share, and 18% share. See if it is 100. Yes. 100% shareholding by these 5 people. Someone has 30%. Let us say this is government's share. And let us say this is private individuals. So it will be a private sector bank or government sector bank? It will be a private sector bank because private sector holds majority shares. Okay. Now, who will manage this? Who will run this bank? Board of directors. Board of directors. And who will be the part of board of directors? It will be decided by whom? By the shareholders. It will be decided by the shareholders. So you may write management of commercial banks. Management of commercial banks. Who does the management of commercial banks? Management of commercial banks is done by board of directors selected by the shareholders. Okay. Board of directors selected by the shareholders. Board of directors selected by the shareholders. Board of directors selected by the shareholders. Okay. Now, my question, one question to you all is: if government has the majority share, who will be the largest shareholder? Government. Who will have largest say in putting board of directors in place? Government. Government will use its political agenda also in putting up board of directors. Yes or no? Yes. So it will always recruit efficient people, or inefficient people may also become the part of board of directors. Inefficient people with good links in the government will also become. So will the management of banks, public sector banks, be very efficient or inefficient? Will they incur profits or they will incur losses? That's why public sector banks have also huge non-performing assets. Get the point? So that's why Narasimham committee recommended that there must not be board of directors which must be connected to the shareholding. Independent board of directors. Independent directors were recommended by Narasimham committee for making banking sector efficient. Okay, this is analysis part. Okay, in the previous classes, when I took previous classes, I used one sentence. I'll use it today. What I dictate is important. What I don't dictate is more important, because that is analysis. Okay, and analysis usually comes from reading newspapers and magazines. That's why I'm telling all of you, newspaper reading is must. You may resort to that monthly current affairs. You may resort to the monthly capsules. You may resort to any capsule, any tablet for current affairs. But the basic oxygen for current affairs is newspaper. At the point, analysis will be developed by newspaper. Okay, coming back. Management is done by board of directors who are selected by the shareholders. The one who is having greater share will have the greater say. Get the point? Here, who is doing the management? Management is done by elected members. Management is done by elected members. Sorry, management is done by elected management is done by people elected by the members of cooperative bank. Management is done by people elected by the members of cooperative bank. Members of cooperative bank. Okay, means everybody doesn't have a right to vote to choose the management of cooperative banks. Who has the right to vote to choose the management of cooperative banks? No. Members of cooperative bank. Members of a cooperative bank will vote and choose people to manage cooperative banks. So management of cooperative banks is done by people who are elected by members of cooperative banks. Okay. Now who are members of cooperative banks? Simple. You go to a cooperative bank, you ask them a membership form, you fill that form, you become the member of that cooperative bank. Okay. So members of cooperative banks are those individuals who filled the membership form, of the cooperative bank. Now these people will have right to elect their management for that cooperative bank. So these cooperative banks are run on democratic principles or not? Yes. So they are run on democratic principle. They are run on democratic principles. They are run on democratic principle. They are run on democratic principle. Okay. Who is the regulator of commercial banks? Who is the regulator of commercial banks? RBI. RBI regulator means who takes decisions pertaining to commercial banks. RBI takes decision at what rate you have to lend. This decision is taken by banks themselves, but how much money you have to keep, what shall be the terms and conditions of borrowing from people, what shall be the terms and conditions for lending the people, what shall be the money kept for interest of depositors. Get the point? All these conditions are decided by RBI. Clear? Here, who is the regulator? Who is the regulator? See, there are so many regulators for cooperative societies. Banking operations, the lending norms are decided by RBI. Three regulators. The lending norms are decided by RBI. RBI for banking operations. RBI regulates the banking operations, means RBI deals with lending norms. RBI deals with lending norms. Okay. Their establishment, their branch expansion, their management, their election to the management, these are administrative and operational, aspects. They are dealt by the state government. Okay, state government deals with operational functions. Deals with operations of cooperative banks. So what operations? What operations? Their establishment, their expansion, branch expansion, then management, elections, etc. They are dealt by state government. Dealt by state governments. They are dealt by state governments. Okay. Then, if cooperative bank is lending to agriculture sector, then NABARD comes into play. NABARD also regulates their lending to agriculture sector. Okay. NABARD is also a regulator of cooperative banks, and it regulates the lending norms related to rural and agriculture sector.